So, welcome to the My Florida Green podcast. Today's episode is entitled appropriately Ginger Genes and Greens, where we're going to be talking about the redhead gene and how that might be unique to certain cannabis users. And what we have here today is we actually have Adam Skiles, our resident expert here. He's a member of our team and also a redhead and certainly has the gene.
Happy to be here.
Yes, excited to have this conversation. So I guess our first question is, what the heck is this redhead gene and what does it do?
Absolutely. All right. So the gene that we have lovingly termed as the redhead gene here at My Florida Green is otherwise known as the melanocortin gene. And I should preface by just saying that it is the recessive part of the redhead gene. So whether or not you're showing those bright, fiery locks or not, if you have red hair in your family that kind of pops up every so often, then you have that recessive gene. You're passing on that redhead gene, right? Other than just affecting, our bright hair and our kind of fiery tempers and personalities, this melanocortin gene also really affects the body's process as far as how it senses and deals with pain. Or one of the main hormones that the body produces is the pro-opiomelanocortin hormone. That's kind of the hormone the body produces as an alarm system to the rest of the body that says, hey, I'm in pain over here and it needs to be dealt with. The melanocortin gene in gingers actually makes it so that we produce far less of this hormone. So our alarm system doesn't go off as often or as frequently as most people, or as soon as most people does. And then the melanocortin 4 receptors that receive this hormone and kind of go off and tell the body, hey, something over there is going on. We should pay attention to it. These receptors are also desensitized in the ginger as well. And so it ends up being, we have an alarm system that's going off far less frequently and, not as soon as most people's does. And it's going off to hit receptors that are not as sensitive as most people's are. And so we end up having a much higher pain tolerance, basically, is how it breaks down. And so not only do the gingers not really feel, it's not really the gingers don't feel pain as much as most people. It's just that it takes them longer to realize that they are in pain. And then usually by the time they do, they're in much more pain than the average person is before, they would have noticed.
That's like really interesting. And then, so how does that tie in when it comes to education about the plant and exploring dosing options when it comes to anybody with the allergy?
So education is super, super important. I mean, most of us don't even realize that having red hair is tied to, having a high pain tolerance and kind of these weird situations that we find ourselves in where, we've been walking for a mile with a piece of wood stuck in our foot, or, we've been working all day and we haven't realized that we cut ourselves and we've been bleeding for the last half hour all over the house. These are things that are pretty common in redheads. Like, we do this a lot, and then everybody else looks at us and are like, how do you not realize that you're doing this? And so education is huge. It helps, build those bridges, connect those dots that otherwise we have no idea that these things actually happen in correlation to each other. When it comes to cannabis specifically, we know that the way that the body ingests cannabis is going to affect the way that the body processes cannabis. And so if we're just smoking it, it's just coming into the bloodstream and it's kind of just dealing with the pain that we're in at the moment, which can, which can be great. It can, it's a valuable piece of the puzzle. But when you're a ginger and you're kind of coming in really late to the party to try and deal with, something that's grown way out of proportion than what it should be, a lot of times if you're just smoking, then it really feels like you're trying to fight a forest fire with a garden hose. I mean, it just feels really inadequate.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to, cannabis, we know that if we ingest it, then it gets into the metabolism, it gets into your organs, it's going to get much deeper into the system. And then when you do need pain relief, you can go and you can smoke it and your body can just access that THC that's in your system. It's going to go a lot further and do a lot more. And so I know that, probably any ginger out there is going to sit there and tell you, well, I never feel an edible. I take edibles all damn day and I won't feel it. I know that's not why we take edibles as gingers. We take it specifically just to make sure that that THC is being metabolized, is in our system. So that way, when we do need the pain relief, when we do need that instant relief, it's not something that's so unmanageable and so hard to get to.
Wow.
That's it's such a good point, Adam, that you bring up, because when you smoke, it goes through the capillaries in your lungs, where when you ingest, it's going to go through an enzyme in your liver, and that's when it's really activating in your endocannabinoid system, starts to really fuel everything. It's a fantastic point. kind of speak into that. So what are some, and you kind of teetered on that, but what are some effective strategies for someone that with a redhead gene that they could use to help dose themselves?
Absolutely. As funny as it sounds, and like you said, I kind of touched on it. I always try and get all of my ginger friends back into edibles. I have found that almost all of them have sat here and we've tried edibles, we've tried this and that, and they don't work for us. And like I mentioned, I know that you're not going to feel it. That's not why we're taking the edible, is for that direct relief. I want you to just get a pack of edibles and start taking one as a once a day vitamin. Like I said, get that THC into your metabolism, into your system, just so that it's there and it's regular. You're not going to feel it, especially psychoactively. The ginger, you're processing it way too fast to get that psychoactive effect from an edible. But when you do go to smoke, when you do need that relief, it's going to be something that's much more achievable because you have that THC constantly in your system.
And then, so that kind of with us here at My Florida Green, how can we help any of our patients with that redhead gene?
Yeah. My Florida Green is awesome. I mean, one of the biggest things, like we touched on before, is the education. My Florida Green is the place that told me what the melanocortin gene was, that told me how it was being tied to my pain relief and to my, high tolerance to pain, high tolerance to painkillers. I mean, these were things that I, picked up as character traits in myself. But like I said, I had never connected these dots. I had never built these bridges. It was the people at My Florida Green that came in, gave me the education, gave me the intelligence that I needed to be able to connect these dots and be able to put my routine together from there. The other thing that My Florida Green does is that they offer free increases in routes that you need. And so when you find a route that works, when you find something that works, My Florida Green makes sure that you have access to the milligrams that you need to make that routine happen. And that's not something that they charge you extra for. That's not something that they make a super hard process. It's free. They boiled it down to, I think, like 2 steps for the patient, and they take care of the rest. It's absolutely great. And so My Florida Green is the best as far as ginger care, in the sense that they know that gingers need that care. You know what I mean? And a lot of other places don't even have that. So as far as the education and the increases go, My Florida Green is the best place to get it.
I can't thank you enough for talking to us about this today. Like, I know that some people are out there thinking, "Wow, that is why my tolerance is so high to a number of different things," and
Yeah,
and that's the goal here. I mean, it's something that we're all passionate about, is educating and making sure everyone gets the most out of this medicine. And
Very.
really appreciate you talking to us about that today.
no, I'm
And
happy to be here. Like, this is a subject that I was excited to get to. I was excited to touch on this subject and be able to get this episode out. So
yeah, I tell you, I mean, we come across it enough. It's time to talk about it a little bit more.
yes,
So, and I just want to invite anyone here that's watching us to come check out our blog on the My Florida Green website. It's called the Redhead Gene and Medical Marijuana. Definitely recommend checking it out. Just kind of get a little bit more on that, and comment, like, subscribe. Make sure you check us out some more, because we've got more great, fantastic content coming at you.
absolutely.
All right, guys.
See you soon.